Hello, today I have the lovely Maggie with me. Hi, Maggie, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure, Donna. Thanks for having me on your YouTube channel. It's great to be here. My name's Maggie James. I write psychological suspense novels. I'm full-time and have been for about 6 years now. I've written 8 novels and 1 novella and 1 non-fiction book. Absolutely love writing. It's what I always wanted to do when I was little, and I'm very happy that I'm now lucky enough to be a full-time author. And as we were saying just before we started recording the call, to have so many wonderful author friends as well. You know, the writing community really is lovely.
And you've just released your first new book for just over a year, isn't it? Longer. I know it's been a while.
I think it's about 18 months. Yeah, my last one, Silent Winter, was released in December 2019. So yeah, it's been quite a while for various reasons. But yeah, I'm very happy to say that She'll Never Tell was released on August the 31st. It's now available in both ebook and paperback, and it's getting some great reviews, which is always very encouraging for an author. So that's good.
Because it's a great book.
Thank you. Always good to hear. Yeah, it's a very sort of challenging time, I think, for many authors when they publish a book, because you never quite know how it's going to be received, how people will like it, not like it, whatever. So yeah, I'm pleased so far that it's all going well. I think that meant a lot. Yeah, I think that meant a lot for me, because I did have a hiatus with my writing. At one stage I doubted whether I wanted to continue, and it was tossing. I don't know, it's very difficult to decide which way to go at one point, but I'm pleased I decided to carry on, and She'll Never Tell is a result. So I'm happily back as a full-time novelist now, which is great.
And for anyone that hasn't read or seen anything about it, do you want to just give a little sort of summary of what it's about?
I will do. I mean, it's hard to do that without giving plot spoilers. So basically, the idea was percolating in my head for quite a while, really. I had this idea to either write a book about a woman who, after her death, it was found that she'd never had a child, even though she had a woman who everyone regarded as her daughter, or to go the other way and have a woman who swore that she'd never had children, and yet it was found that she had some children. And I couldn't decide between the two options. So in the end, I decided to combine them all in one novel. So you've got one character called Sonia, who, after she dies in the first chapter of a novel, the post-mortem reveals that she's never actually had a child. Maybe that's a bit of a plot spoiler, but hey. And there's also Elena, who is the other way. She says to everyone that she's never had children, and yeah, the evidence suggests that she has actually had some children, and it's a story of how those two stories actually dovetail, and also the effect on Sonia's daughter Olivia, who's actually devastated by firstly her mother's death, and then the results of the post-mortem. And yeah, things get quite twisted after there. So it was great fun to write.
And there's very much a nature versus nurture sort of storyline as well, isn't there?
I hadn't actually planned that, but yeah, I guess that does factor into it. Yes, there is a nature versus nurture. It does come up. Again, I can't say too much without giving plot spoilers, but yeah, that's always an interesting theme I think for novelists to examine anyway. So yeah, it was great. I mean, the novel went through various incarnations. I mean, at one time it had a totally different ending. It had very different characters. My first drafts are always a mess, and they always change incredibly, between like the first draft and the finished product, which is not unusual for me. So yeah, it was a twisted process to get the book to its final stage, but got there in the end. Once I sort of revised the plot, everything fell into place quite quickly, and the final novel did, get to the final stage quite quickly.
And did you find after such a long break that you managed to sort of get back in the groove quite quickly, or did you find it difficult?
I found it difficult for many months. My lovely accountability buddy, sort of had months and months where I'd come on our weekly calls and I'd say, oh no, I've not done anything this month and everything. I think the only thing which sort of got me out of this kind of funk I was in was to remember how much the only thing I'd ever wanted since being a child was to be a novelist. And I thought, I can't possibly have written all I need to say after just seven novels. And I just thought, I'll just give it a go. I'll get back to this novel and really sort of see, if I can reconnect with the story and if I can make something of it. And that's basically what I did. The minute I stopped, sort of procrastinating, I actually buckled down and got into the novel. Things started flying, sort of momentum started happening. And yeah, I reconnected with my love of writing, which just for whatever reason went into a black hole for quite a while. So yeah, it was good. I felt again what it was like, that love of writing, to sit at my day and spin words and stories. That was one of the most positive things about She'll Never Tell for me. It did rekindle that spark for me, which, fingers crossed, will stay in place. Who knows? I think a lot of writers go through periods when they question, what they're doing, whether they want to be a writer. It's a difficult profession in many ways, even though it's extremely rewarding. So I think I just went through one of those times. So hopefully all now sorted.
Yeah, well, we all hope so anyway.
Thank you, Donna. You've always been really, supportive, not just to me, but to all authors. So yeah, thank you. It really helps.
You're welcome. Out of all the books you've written so far, do you have a favourite character?
Favourite character? Let me think. I'm going to say two characters, the goodies and the baddies. I think my favourite bad guy was Dominic from The Second Captive, and he was great fun to write because I think it's the only time I've actually written from the antagonist's point of view. In all my other stories, the antagonist has been there, but as seen through the lens of other characters. With Dominic, I actually got into his head and told his story to reveal why he was as warped as he was. And I think that's what made him more special to me. I sort of connected with him on that level. And, I was keen not to make him like a cardboard cutout villain. He did have, some good qualities. And he was just a very damaged character, basically. He did have, if he'd had a different upbringing and a different father, he would probably, not be the man he was. But yeah, I think my favorite bad guy is probably Dominic. Let me think about the good guys. Possibly, I think maybe Drew from Silent Winter, simply because I put him through such a horrible time of things. I don't normally torture my characters, but I did put him through a terrible time. And, at one point I nearly didn't write that book because the subject matter was a bit too horrible to even contemplate. The idea of being shut in total darkness, not being able to move or see for 4 months was just so horrific that I thought, I'm not sure I can write this novel. So I think, yeah, possibly Drew from Silent Winter. If I ever met him in real life, I'd have to give him a heartfelt apology for what I did to him. But then he should have known better, really, to pop up in one of my books. My characters should expect terrible things to happen to them, really.
Yeah, they kind of don't have a choice, though.
No, really, no. But I mean, I let him live. Some of my characters don't actually live. So, he did survive. He might be a bit psychologically damaged after his experience, but, he's still alive. He ended up, getting through it all. So he can't really complain.
I think he kind of can.
Yeah, you might be right on that, but watch out, I might end up putting you in one of my books and doing terrible things to you.
Oh God, I've been a sex mad politician, so.
Oh right, yeah.
So bring it on, it's fine.
Yeah, who knows? I might even be nice and give you some choice in what happens to you. Or then again, I might not.
God. I had another guy say that he's writing a book, and sometimes he randomly messages me and he said, I've given you a husband. I was like, oh, thanks. I was like, can you do that in real life, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, just randomly get a message from him like, oh, I've done this with your character. Okay.
It's actually quite fun putting people in books. I mean, I've done it a few times now, and I don't actually put the person's character in the book. I just use their name, but I think it's still fun for all concerned. I mean, I had 5 people who I know, they popped up in She'll Never Tell, and I acknowledged that at the back of the book, that I use their names. But yeah, it's fun for all concerned. I think I made 2 of them policemen. One was a loving husband. Who else was there? Oh yeah, one was a pathologist, and the other was a coroner's office assistant. So they popped up in all different roles, and nothing terrible happened to any of them. So I was quite merciful, really.
Yeah. If you ever put Tony in a book.
I wouldn't know where to start, to be honest. I might make him a sex mad politician. That would be good, wouldn't it?
Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah.
Yes,
You could have so much fun with that.
Oh, I could. Yeah, I could be quite merciless, I think. Yeah, it's a good idea. But then you see, he's an author as well. He could get his revenge about the same way. I could end up, in terrible, dire straits in one of his books. So I think it's probably best if we don't go down that route.
You just have a proper author off with each other and just keep putting each other in and doing horrible things.
Yeah, I think that could end badly for all concerned, really. So I think in order to keep our friendship the way it is, maybe I won't put Tony in a book.
Yeah, I can see your point, actually.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Out of all the books you've written so far, what's been your most fun scene to write, and what's been the most difficult?
The most fun thing. Well, they've all been fun in some ways, and they've all been difficult in some ways as well. I think most fun one. I think it would probably have to be the first one, his Kidnapper's Shoes, simply because it was the first one. So it was just kind of a magical moment for me, having dithered for so long, so many decades, about actually getting down to writing, and then making the plan that I will sit down and write every day, and I will not leave, because I was traveling at the time, I will not leave this city until I've finished this book. And actually following through on that, after so much procrastination, as I say, over several decades, was magical. And I still recall that moment when I typed the last word. I mean, it was a very long, very messy draft. It was I think it was like 147,000 words, and the final book is something like 82. So it's a lot of rubbish which had to get pruned out.
Wow.
It was long, it was rambling. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I started writing with no real plan, and then I just sort of had one sentence for each chapter where it was going to go. So it was very messy, but it was the fact that I'd done it, and I did it in Sucre, which is an incredibly beautiful Bolivian city, one of my favorite places on the planet, so the surroundings were great. And there's this magical moment when I finished the book, and it was just, oh, I've done it. I don't care if it's long, it's messy, I've done it. So that was an incredible moment. The most difficult one, it might well be She'll Never Tell, for the reasons I've just outlined. I started writing it when I was in a bit of a writing funk, and I almost gave up on it. But then on the other hand, as I said, Silent Winter was very difficult to write, because the subject matter I found quite distressing, and I thought, I wasn't sure if I could write about that. So what I do with every book is set myself a bit of a challenge with them. So that's been keeps writing each book fun. For example, someone said to me, oh, we think it's really difficult to write an entire novel in the present tense, and I thought, I don't see that. So I decided to actually do that with a book. And then somebody said, you can't write a book with one character as the main point of view all the way through. So I decided to do that. And that keeps it quite fun. I mean, my next book, which is scheduled, I've not put it on pre-order yet, but it's scheduled to come out just after Christmas, rather. I actually just got the idea for a great title in my head, and I just went with it from there. So, and I've never done that before. I always find titles really difficult, but I got this idea for a title, and I just thought, how can I write a book with that title? So that's been quite a different challenge for this book. So we'll see how that goes. I've been busy before we came on this call. I was busy plotting things out and making life difficult for my characters.
Bless them. Totally forgot. Do you have any phobias, and would you write about them?
I'm mildly scared of heights, not too bad. So I think probably not that one. I'm not over keen on spiders, but again, it's only mild. So no, I don't think so. I don't think there's anything that, if I had an extreme phobia, then I think yes, and one that would, was affecting my life, and I think yes, that could be subject matter. But a mild dislike of spiders and a mild concerned about heights is never going to make great subject matter. So I think probably not, no. And I'm quite reluctant to put anything deeply personal in a book. So I think even if I did have an extreme phobia, I don't think I want to write about it. I know some people do, or some writers do pour a lot of themselves, their inner nature into a book. And I'm quite keen not to do that because at my heart, I'm quite a private person. So I like to keep myself out of the books. I don't mind, all my books are set in Bristol, which is where I lived. And I don't mind sharing snippets about life in Bristol and, some stuff from my traveling and my previous life as an accountant have gone into some of my books, but that's nothing very personal. So it's possible it might happen, but I'm not sure about that. It feels a bit too revealing to do anything like that.
When you edit, what's your most overused word or phrase?
My characters tend to have a lot of gut problems. Their guts clench a lot. So I've been picked up on that a few times. And the editor who worked with me on 2 of my books said that I misused the word hell a lot. I'll be saying, what the hell's going on? And I don't know. I mean, it's not particularly a word I use a great deal in real life, but my characters tend to. So I think a lot of authors have sort of, author quirks or whatever. I mean, I've seen it in other books, think, oh, I've seen that phrase a few times. And again, a good editor and a good beta reader should hopefully winkle that out. But it's hard, if I've got one of my characters in a difficult situation, it's hard for me not to, have a gut clenching moment with them.
Yeah, and I've started asking this question, and every author knows their word or their phrase off the top of their head. They know straight away what it is.
Yes,
and, which makes me laugh. And also they're quite similar. Just has come up a few times, swear words, obviously. It's a funny question. I like it.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. I suspect that all authors are a bit like that. It's I'm not sure why, but yeah, I mean, I'm more conscious of it now. I've been picked up on it a few times, and I do try. Somebody said that a few of my beta readers with She'll Never Tell said that, oh, too many characters got tears sliding down their cheeks. And when I did a check, I mean, there's a lot of crying going on in the book because of what I was doing to the characters, but yeah, they all had tears sliding down their cheeks. Oh, whoop, that's got to go.
If you were to be a bad character in a book, how would you kill your victims?
Oh, that's a fun one. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Well, I think obviously I'd have to get away with it, and I'm not a sort of violent person, so I think it'd have to be very stealthily. And just by coincidence, yesterday for the book I'm writing at the moment, I was actually Googling stuff on how to kill somebody and make it look like an accident. So I think it would definitely be an accidental death. How, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, what I was looking into yesterday was sort of, how to push somebody from great height and make it look like an accidental fall, something like that. Yeah, so I'm not quite sure. I think it might depend on the character and how much I hated them and everything, and what the circumstances were that led me to murder them. But yeah, I think I'd have to get away with it. So the other thing I considered was actually sort of, hiring a hit person to go and do it. So, and giving myself a cast iron alibi at the same time. So I'd be like drinking in the pub while the murder took place, and it's nothing to do with me. Yeah, apart from the fact a lot of money went out of my bank account, obviously. So
yeah, follow the money. That's what they always say, isn't it?
Yes.
You always find.
Yes, yeah, follow the money. Yes. So yeah, good one. Yeah, I'd have to think more about that. But I think, yes, I suspect it would be like, an accident, in inverted commas.
It's a question that Malcolm Hollandrake asked me when he interviewed me, and I said I'd stab someone 100 times. And I still don't think he's really got over that.
He's probably terrified. Poor old Malcolm's probably still cowering in a corner somewhere.
Nah.
Yeah.
We met after that at Harrogate, and he still gave me a hug, so it's fine.
Oh, that's right then. But did you sort of check out? You didn't have any knives on you first?
He may very well have done, and I just didn't notice because I was so excited to meet him. But
yeah. He's a lovely guy. He's so nice. The only thing about that was, I mean, you get blood everywhere, wouldn't you? Just sort of, it's a bit messy, isn't it, really?
Yeah, he's like, why 100? I'm like, I don't know. just came
Yeah.
to my head. I couldn't.
Nice round number. And you know the job will get done, don't you? You know, if you stab somebody 100 times, they're probably not going to live through that. So
Exactly, yeah.
remind me never to get on your wrong side.
Yeah, I think that's what Malcolm thought as well, bless him.
Yeah, I bet he's going to be very nice to you from now on. It's like you'll probably never come up a tall building with me in case I throw you off.
So I'd like to see you try. That's what I'd say.
Well, we could have a fun fight and then go to the pub, couldn't we, to sort of have a few drinks. Yeah. Yeah.
Probably could it be asked? I'm like, oh, no, yeah, okay then.
Yeah, I have to say, I think that's a scenario that probably won't ever happen, which is probably good all round, really, you know.
Yeah, definitely. If you were to be a character in anyone's book, who would you be?
Let's see. I've just finished reading Billy Summers by Stephen King, his latest novel, and I just, the reviews have been great, and I thought it was amazing. So possibly I could reincarnate as Billy Summers. I wouldn't pick the female character in that, the lead female character, because she goes through some pretty awful stuff in the book. But yeah, that was amazing. But my all-time favorite book by Stephen King is 11/22/63. So I think I'd probably be the lead female role in that, whose name has completely just gone out of my head. But I thought it was a magical book. I would love, you know, I think I'd like to be the female in that. So that would be good.
I agree. It's amazing. Such an amazing book. I'd love to reread it, but it's long and I have so many arcs. I don't have time. But
yeah, and also I'd be a bit worried that maybe the second time it would lose some magic, because for me, I thought it was just jaw-droppingly good. You know, it's one of my favorite books of all time. You know, that man is a complete genius with words. And I think, you know, Billy Summers isn't a brilliant book, but 11/22/63 takes it to a whole different level. It's incredible. So an absolutely perfect ending, because I know he gets criticized sometimes for not having good endings to his books, and I thought the ending to that book was amazing. Just brought tears to my eyes. It was perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Yeah, it is phenomenal. I'll have to read Billy Summers. I keep seeing it, like, keeps teasing me, but yeah.
I thought it was amazing. Took me, I think, a few pages to get hooked. I started reading, I thought, this isn't grabbing me, but very soon it did pull me in, and that's got an amazing ending as well. I think, you know, he pretty much nailed the ending on that one, but in a very, very different way. So yeah, you have to let me know what you think once you've read it.
Yeah, I might take it to Scotland with me at the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was I just going to say? Oh, Needful Things was one of the first Stephen King books I read, and that's got one of the weirdest.
Yeah, Leland Gaunt, what a character.
Fantastic idea for a book and so clever, but the ending, as far as I remember, was just weird. I was like, what the hell am I reading now? But yeah, it's yeah, it is awesome.
Yeah, he's written some absolute crackers, he really has. So yeah, the man is a genius in my humble opinion. So
yes, he is, absolutely. So which leads me to another of my interesting questions. If you were able to spend a day with any author, dead or alive, who would it be?
I think it would have to be Stephen. The only problem is I think I'd be so in awe of him that I don't think I'd be able to speak 2 words. And, you know, I'd probably ask him really crass questions, which he's been asked a million times before. So yeah, that would be a difficult one. I'd have to, you know, psych myself up for that one. But yeah, imagine picking his brains on the subject of writing, you know, and just sort of, because from what I gather, he like uses a technique of writing into the dark. He doesn't plot his books too much. And I'm in awe of authors who can do that, because I can't really do that at all. So I'd love to sort of get some insight into the sort of actual mechanics on how he writes a book and how he can generate such complex plots if he doesn't really know where the story's going. So yeah, I think that'd be fascinating to explore with him.
Yeah. And if you were to meet any authors now in real life, who would you most fangirl over?
Well, I'm not going to say Tony. His head's big enough as it is. I have actually met Tony. He's absolutely lovely. So, but I'm definitely not going to fangirl over him. That would probably freak him out, to be honest. So,
That's why you should do it. It keeps him on his toes.
oh, that's true. Yes, especially I could threaten him. Maybe I could threaten to stab him 100 times or something. But no, he knows I'm far too nice to do anything like that. So, I would think. I've read a few of Steve Kavanagh's books, and the latest one being The Devil's Advocate. And I always think he writes an incredible novel. They're very, very detailed, very intricately plotted. And I'd love to sit down with him and just talk writing tips and everything. So either him or possibly Chris Carter. I mean, Chris Carter's a bit gory for some people's taste, and sometimes I've been a bit whoa when I've been reading them, but they're still amazing reads, really, really good, So yeah, I think it was Steve or Chris. They'd be great to sit down with.
Have you ever seen Chris Carter interview? Do you know his history?
No, I don't know much about him. I've just read a few of his books now, but I don't know much about the guy himself.
He's had quite an amazing life. I can't remember exactly, but you'd have to look him up. I think he was on the podcast that Stuart James used to do, and I was gobsmacked at some of the stuff. And he didn't start writing until quite late. I think he was in a band and stuff. And yeah, he's had quite an awesome life. It's definitely worth looking him up.
Yeah, will do. Yeah, sounds interesting. Yeah. So I don't imagine our paths will ever cross, but yeah, I think he's a great novelist. I've got one of his books on my Kindle now to read as my next on my TBR pile. So yeah.
Yeah, I've read all of them except for the latest one. The same as Steve Kavanaugh, I've read all of them, but the latest one.
Yeah, I don't know. I've read all of Steve Kavanaugh's. I think there's what's the one about the two sisters? I've not read that
50-50.
one. Yeah, 50-50. I'm absolutely hopeless with titles. I can never remember book titles.
That is just stunning. Really so clever. And all the way through, you're changing your mind and you just don't know. And then at the end, it sort of twists again a few times before he finally reveals, really, really out of this world good that is.
I must put that on the list then. I mean, I thought 13 was the first book of his that I read. I thought, wow, it's amazing. I mean, just the tagline on the front of the book, the killers on the jury, just hooked me in straight away. Brilliant. So good.
That will remain one of the best taglines I think I've ever seen for a book. That totally, I'm reading this book. I need to read this book and find out what on earth. Yeah,
I can't remember the whole tagline, but it's something like the killer isn't in the dock, he's on the jury or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, not jealous of his skills at all. It's fine.
Absolutely not. No. Got my fingers crossed here. Actually, there's just the authors say that you shouldn't have comparatinitis. It's I always find authors like that are actually an inspiration in many ways. Like, I mean, okay, I'll never be at Stephen King level, but the man is such a genius. It's amazingly inspiring, I think, to see what he can do with the written word. So yeah, I tend to, rather than get jealous, I tend to get really inspired by people like that.
Yeah, and I find that actually is the case for all authors. I haven't found jealousy, it just isn't a thing outwardly anyway. I find very often authors seem to be supportive and try and boost each other rather than who's doing really well and I hate him. It's not the case.
That's absolutely been my experience as well. I think who hasn't fitted that profile, everyone else has been absolutely. Other authors are so friendly, so supportive, they're always willing to help. They know that if your book's doing well, it doesn't take anything away from their books, so there's no reason not to help other authors, really. It's we can all help each other out, really. I think other authors know how it can be a very difficult profession in many ways. It's very isolating because you're sitting alone in a room, wrestling words into submission day after day. It's difficult, and you're obviously subject to a lot of criticism. You have to put your book out there for people to review, and some people aren't nice. They're not they can be very critical. It can be difficult, you know, and then there's all the other things you have to do, like the marketing and promoting and things like that. So I think other authors get it, you know, so that's why we tend to be supportive.
Yeah, and I find some of the bigger names even only think that they've got where they are because of luck, not because they're better than, you know, the sort of indie authors, just because they've had more luck. I've
Yeah.
never heard one of the sort of bigger name authors say that their writing's better. They're like, no, I just got lucky.
Yeah, I think that's true. The only people I've ever heard say my writing is superb and wonderful and I'm the most brilliant author in the world are actually, you know, authors who are possibly on their first book. And, you know, I don't know. I have come across that attitude, but it's never been from a successful author. So I don't know. I mean, some people are just deluded, aren't they, about their skills in life? So everybody think they're better authors, but I think a lot of writers are actually very modest about their writing skills. We all go through days where we read back what we've written the day before, and you think, "My God, that's terrible." You know, it can be very difficult to sit back because you can't have an objective viewpoint. It's very easy to get dispirited about what you write, and you know, to think it's crap when maybe it's perfectly okay. I don't know.
Yeah, I know, but you're all weird anyway. I mean, you know, you put yourself through this torture, and then, you know, you
Mm.
mark it, which you all hate and stuff, and then you get your reviews, and then you're like, yeah, that's cool. I enjoyed that. I'll do it again.
Yeah,
Again.
I know. Yeah. Well, for
I,
me, it beats being an accountant, to be honest. So, yeah. Yeah. No, I think, you know, as far as I'm concerned, it's the best job in the world for me anyway. You know, I wouldn't actually be doing anything else, you know, and I say that after 6 years full time. You know, I did have about 18 months where, you know, I went through a low patch with my writing. So, and I still think it's like the best job in the world, you know. It can be difficult, you know, I procrastinate like everyone else and yeah, have my days where, you know, I think, oh, what am I doing? But yeah, it's brilliant, you know, just to create books. I mean, I love books so much, and to be actually able to create my own books, just not reading other people's, but to write my own is amazing.
and what's been your standout favourite moment since you became an author?
Um, mm, I think there's two really. One is the one I've already described when I was in Bolivia and I actually finished writing the first book. That was just amazing. And even when I went ahead to indie publish that book, the moment of publication came second to the actual moment when I finished writing it. That was a magical moment for me in so many ways. You know, I remember at the time I just tears welled up in my eyes. It's going back to that cliche again about tears sliding down my cheeks. That's pretty much what happened. You know, I got very emotional, very choked up. Yeah, I've done it. And then I took myself off out to celebrate and everything. And at the time, nobody knew I was writing a novel, so I didn't tell anyone. It was like this wonderful glowing secret I had inside. And I think the other moment is when I just finished work one day. It's about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and my phone went, and I almost didn't answer it because it was an unknown number. And I was thinking, oh, another scam call about my car's warranty or something. And instead, it was one of the acquisitions editors at Lake Union saying how much she loved his kidnapper's shoes. And she was very sort of cagey in that first phone call. She just kept telling me how much she loved the book, and she wanted to know a bit more about me and my writing, what I had planned and everything. And she was saying things like, well, I wonder if we can perhaps work together in the future, but I can't say too much at this stage, but can I come back to you in a couple of weeks? And I'd heard about this sort of thing happening. So I actually knew that she was thinking of offering me a publishing contract. But, you know, that was a magical moment. And again, I couldn't say anything about it because I didn't want to go around telling people, because nothing had been signed, sealed. You know, she could have come back to me in 2 weeks and said, you know, sorry, nothing doing. So, but yeah, I mean, I was on a high. I went out to sell it. I went out with friends that evening, and it was difficult because I was having to bite my tongue. I thought, oh, I want to say something and I can't. But yeah, sure enough, in 2 weeks' time, she did get back on the phone to me and said, we'd like to offer you a 2-book publishing contract. So that was pretty good.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, thank you.
So what do you like to do in your free time?
What do I do in my free time? Oh, I love really into healthy eating, keeping fit and everything. I've got my home gym, which I love doing stuff like that. And I've got a temporary dog residence with me, residing with me at the moment. So we go out dog walking each day. Reading, obviously. I love cooking, anything to do with food, going out for meals. I like camping as well. I'm just about to take up archery, which is something a bit different. I did a taster course on archery and I just found I really clicked with it. So at the moment I'm looking into local clubs. I went along to one last weekend to talk about joining them. I'm looking into doing classes at my local gym. So yeah, it's something a bit different. I think the main thing for me, I've always had this huge love of foreign travel. So, traveling for me just lights up my world. I love it. And as you can imagine, things are slightly frustrating in that respect at the moment because I can't just go and book a trip. But, I'm confident that we will get there eventually. And the next time I do go abroad, it's going to mean all the more to me because I've had my feet in the UK for so long. So, yeah. That would be good.
If you were able to travel to any period of time, either forward or backwards, where would you go?
I don't think I'd go backwards in time because that's kind of a known quantity. I'd love to go forward in time, but then that could be scary as well. If you go forward in time and you see sort of, bad things, and I don't know, but it'd be interesting to know what's ahead of us, particularly when there's all these big questions at the moment about climate change, global warming. We're exhausting the Earth's resources and things like that. So on the one hand, it'd be scary to go like 100 years into the future and see where we are. On the other hand, who knows? So yeah, I think I'd go forward, but I think I'd have to think very carefully first about whether I could deal with what I might see. And if that was the case, maybe I'd decide to go back in time. And I think I'd probably go back to Victorian times because it's not so, it's not like going back to medieval times when things were a bit barbaric and you could get burned at the stake. As a single female who loves black cats, I don't think I'll go back to those times. So, and obviously I'm not saying Victorian times were perfect, but it's an interesting period, not too long ago. Yeah, I think that would interest me to go back to Victorian times.
A silly question. Who was your first celebrity crush?
First celebrity crush. Trying to think. Going back in time now to when I was 11 and the Bay City Rollers were around, and believe me, it was none of them. Definitely wasn't Gary Glitter. He was around at that time. Was it Donny Osmond or David Cassidy? It might be one of those two.
Probably.
Well, I think maybe Donny Osmond. Yeah. I just cringe when I think of that now because they're all so super clean cut and nice boys, weren't they, and everything. But yes, I think I'd have to say Donny Osmond, to my eternal shame, It's embarrassing to admit these things.
So common. It's either Donny Osmond or David Cassidy, and then it's Blondie or I can't remember who the women are, but it's the same people. Yeah. It's so funny.
Yeah. Oh, good. At least I'm not alone in this then. Yes. So, yeah.
Yeah, my mum was Donny Osmond and her sister was on the David Cassidy side. So I've heard all about it growing up as well, about them too. So I knew.
I mean, I didn't even like the Osmonds' music. I don't remember being a fan of the music. It's just that, that cheesy grin, with the blindingly white teeth and everything. I mean, they're all so incredibly good looking, weren't they? So. Yeah, I'm sure there's some other embarrassing ones which will pop up later in my head, but thankfully I've forgotten them all at the moment.
Yeah, that's cool. That'll do. I like that.
Yeah, sorry I couldn't be more original, but hey, Donny Osmond obviously had it for women of a certain age.
Yep, I know. I don't know. I don't see it, but hey.
Believe me, I don't see it anymore. But I was about 11 or 12 at the time. You've got to make excuses. Oh, I did have an embarrassing one. He wasn't I suppose he was a celebrity. I did have a little thing at one time for Tim Brooke Taylor, which again makes me want to sort of bang my head against the screen and think, what was I thinking? Yes, not good.
Well, some of the guys have had crushes on cartoon characters, so I don't think you can really get weirder than that. So I think it's safe.
I have to say I never fancied Mickey Mouse or Daffy Duck, or so yeah, there's obviously hope for me yet then. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, no cartoon characters.
No, I
No.
don't judge. I just smile. Like, okay.
Yes, yes. Well, some people say they have like sort of book crushes, don't they? Sort of like they fancy Mr. Darcy from Pride and Prejudice, sort of they fancy some character from a book, and I don't think I've ever done that. So
Bliss. I love Bliss. I don't care what anyone says. I know
I do
he's not
like Bliss.
real. I
Yeah,
love Bliss.
I do like Bliss, yeah, but I haven't got a crush on him. I like reading about him, but yeah, I haven't got a crush on him. So he's all yours, we're never going to be love rivals.
Good, because I would fight dirty for Bliss because I know that Naomi, she likes him as well. So we'd have
Right,
to.
two of your Bliss sets. I'm a Bliss set in a sort of different sense. I love reading about him, and I love his relationship with Chandler. That's so well done. But yeah, I don't have romantic designs on Jimmy and that dusty part of his anatomy.
Yeah, we'd have to sort that out.
Oh yeah, I think Tony's never going to live that down. He's going to be reminded of that sort of phrase in his book, which, if whoever's watching this interview has never read the book, they think, what the hell are those two going on about? I'm not gonna name the part of his anatomy that was dusty.
No, me either.
No.
I mean, I've tried to rid that image from my mind, but
once it's in there, you can't get rid of it. I think only bleach and a wire brush would get that image out of my head. Oh, it's so funny. That's so funny. I think I was howling with laughter when I read that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Cheeky devil. Yeah. I warned him that we were speaking today. I said, if your ears start burning, then that's why.
Oh Lord, he's probably thinking of Guinness right now, and he's thinking, what the hell are those two going to chat about?
Yeah, I know we should have not mentioned him at all. And I don't know if he'd be most offended or relieved.
I think he'd probably be relieved, to be honest. But hey, we've been saying all nice things about him and his writing and his characters and stuff. So
exactly, yeah. Always. Because we love Tony. Yeah. We love AJ. Yeah, bless him. Books. We were here to talk about books.
Oh yes, yeah. I got a bit sidetracked there, but we were talking about authors, so it's kind of same thing.
Yeah, because Tony needs a bigger head already. If you were to be a fictional villain for a day, who would you be?
Or fictional villain? Ooh, good question. There's so many wonderful ones to choose from. I think we were talking earlier about Leland Gaunt. I mean, he's interesting because he's not your cardboard cutout villain, is he? He's very, I don't know, he's got so many layers to him, but I'm not sure he's quite evil enough for me. I think because I'm such a lovely, nice person, I think if I was going to reincarnate as a bad guy, I'd have to go the whole hog. So I think I'd have to Cavender. What about that guy? The guy who's again, I can never remember characters' names. The guy who's on the jury. That would be fun because he's such a twisted character.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, don't ask me. I've closed the book and the characters' names have gone. When I go to write the review, I have to go back a few pages all the time. Yeah. I've just read 300 odd pages. How can I forget their names that quickly? Gone, done, every time.
Yeah, I think you're probably like me. I mean, you probably read so many books. I mean, I love, it's not that I don't like the book and it's not that they're not memorable. It's just that I read so many books. It's hard for any of them to stand out. I mean, I read one titles and characters and sometimes the author's names. So just the way it is. I mean, generally, I've got a good memory, but when it comes to that sort of thing, no, don't remember them.
Yeah, I find doing this as well that not only that, but I need to remember authors' book titles and their series and their partners' names and their pets' names and their pseudonyms. And I mean, there's only so much space. I can't remember everything.
Well, that's right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I can't remember stuff like that.
Yeah, it's too much to ask for. Obviously, some like Bliss, the series. then that's fine. But yeah, otherwise, on. So you said you're working on a book at the moment, and do you know what you're going to do after that?
Um, Not really. I mean, I've got some vague ideas. The one I'm releasing just after Christmas is going to be a novella. I'm going short for a change. So I'm still sort of plotting that one out. Next year, I know I want to. I'm not the fastest writer in the world, and I don't want to put myself under a lot of pressure. So I know I want to release 2 books. What the second one will be, I haven't got a clue, no idea. The first one, I've got some vague ideas. I want to probably examine like mother-daughter relationships and things like that. Like a load of authors, I've got a list of like potential ideas for a book, and some of them I think will never see the light of day. But for the second one, I'll probably just go to that list because there's certain things which I know I would like to write about, which I haven't done. But I think for the next one, I think I would, because my books often tend to involve family relationships and sometimes kind of twisted relationships. I think I'm going to look at sort of mother-daughter relationships in that one. Of course, it won't be happy mother-daughter relationships. They're going to be a bit twisted. So, but other than that, it's very vague. I mean, I know some authors have got like the next, I know, 6 books plotted out, maybe because they write in series and I don't, but I don't. It's just like, I know I want to write 2 books next year. I've got some vague ideas about what I want to write about, but it's kind of the same way I travel, to be honest. When I travel, I don't like everything booked in advance and to know exactly where I'm going. I prefer to have a rough idea in my head that, you know, okay, in a couple of weeks I might be in this place. And I never sort of book hotels up in advance or anything like that. I prefer to just have a vague scenario and run with it. And I tend to be the same with the books. You know, I've got a vague plan for next year to write 2 books. What they'll be about, I don't know. It might be as simple as going to my list of ideas and thinking, yeah, that's one, you know, yeah, examine this particular idea. I'd like to write about that. Let's go for it. It's possible I might write a trilogy in the future. I don't want to commit to a whole series, but I can see the idea that a trilogy and having the characters all interlinked, but having like examining one character in book 1, moving on to a second character in book 2. So each book would examine a prime character, but that's only, again, is a very, very vague idea. So you get to have flesh put on the bones of that.
I like the sound of that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it might be nice to have some continuity of characters between some of my books because they've all been standalone so far, and I'm happy not writing a series. I suspect I will get bored after about 6, 7, 8 books of the same characters, but I could see a trilogy where I could see the end in sight, and it just know it's going to be 3 books. I can see that working. And again, I've mentioned earlier, I like to challenge myself in the writing. You know, could I in fact write, you know, the same characters over again, but just limit it to a trilogy? It might be fun finding out, really. Yeah, we'll see. Who knows?
Well, I'll be reading whatever anyway, so it's fine.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for being an awesome beta reader for She'll Never Tell. Yeah, your comments really helped. I think all my beta readers were great this time round. So yeah, again, they can point out things that, you know, I'm not realizing, like too many tears sliding down cheeks. And, you know, one person said, why do you give your characters, you know, you mentioned your character and they got the first name and the surname, just give a first name. You don't have to give them a complete name. Yeah, I've been picked up on that before, you know, good point.
Yeah, yeah, it's a challenge beta reading actually, but I've kind of got more used to it now, and but yeah, it's fun.
Yes, I was corresponding yesterday with another of my beta readers, and she said she loves doing it. You know, I mean, I find it a bit scary, to be honest. You know, especially if you've got to say, I don't think this bit quite works. You know, I mean, I think, to be honest, most authors, if you're tactful enough, you know, that's what they ask beta readers to do. But it still can be a bit nerve-wracking, saying, "Oh, I don't think this character quite works, and this doesn't seem quite right." But yeah.
Well, you may be relieved to know I don't have any more questions for you, unless you think there's anything I haven't asked you about.
No, I think we're probably good. We'll probably find some awesome questions and answers the minute we stop recording. But no, that's been great. Thank you again for having me on your YouTube channel. It's been fun. This is the second interview we've done, isn't it? So
It is.
yeah, it's always nice to chat. So thank you again. It's been fun.
You're very welcome. And before we go, would you like to just remind everyone where they can get your books from and where they can find out more about you?
Oh, right. Yeah, all my books are available on Amazon. Most of them are available an audiobook and they're all an ebook and paperback. So if you want to find out more about me, my website is www.maggiejamesfiction.com. I'll just say that again, www.maggiejamesfiction.com, and all my books are on Amazon. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, lovely, thanks.